What if the real reason you feel stuck is because you've been too kind to yourself? Not in a good way, in a dangerous way. The kind of kind that lets you delay things, that excuses your habits, that tells you, it's okay, you'll do it later. And later never comes. Think about it. How many times have you let yourself off the hook? You knew what you needed to do, but you negotiated with yourself instead. I'll start tomorrow. I'm just tired today. I deserve a break. And every time, it felt justified. Be honest. Does this feel familiar? Because this is where most people lose. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they refuse to be ruthless with themselves. Now wait till you hear this. Your biggest enemy isn't failure. It's comfort. Comfort that whispers, you've done enough. Take it easy. Don't push too hard. And it sounds caring, but it's not. It's keeping you exactly where you are. Now here's the part nobody tells you. You don't need more motivation. You need higher standards. Because motivation fades. It disappears when you're tired, when things get hard, when progress feels slow. But standards? Standards don't care how you feel. They don't negotiate. They don't wait. And that's what makes them powerful. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Being ruthless doesn't mean being harsh. It means being honest, brutally honest. With your time, with your habits, with your excuses. It means calling yourself out when no one else does. Now here's the shift. Most people treat themselves like a friend who needs comfort. But what if what you actually need is a leader? Someone who doesn't accept your excuses. Someone who pushes you when you'd rather stop. Someone who says, no, this matters. Do it anyway. And that someone has to be you. Now this next part changes everything. You can't build a new life with the same level of discipline. You can't expect different results while protecting the same habits. Something has to go. And deep down, you already know what it is. That distraction you keep justifying. That routine you keep repeating. That fear you keep avoiding. So why haven't you cut it off yet? Why do we keep holding on to things that are clearly holding us back? Because letting go feels uncomfortable. It feels extreme. It feels ruthless. And that's exactly why it works. Because average behavior never creates extraordinary results. Now let me ask you something. If you kept living exactly like this for the next year, would anything really change? Or would it be the same cycle, just with more frustration? Think about it for a second, because most people don't fail suddenly. They drift, slowly, quietly, until one day they look back and realize nothing changed. And that's the real fear, not failing, but staying the same. Now, here's where things shift. The moment you decide to be ruthless, you stop negotiating with your future. You stop choosing what feels good now over what matters later. You start cutting things off, not because you hate them, but because they're costing you too much. And suddenly, your life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You know what matters, you know what doesn't, and you act accordingly. Now here's a question most people avoid. What in your life right now needs to be cut off immediately? Don't overthink it. You already know. That answer? That's your starting point. But this is where most people hesitate, because being ruthless means making decisions that your old self won't like. And this next part, this is where everything gets tested. Because knowing what to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. And this is where most people break. Not at the beginning, not when they're motivated, but right here. when it's time to follow through. Because knowing what to cut off is easy. Actually cutting it off, that's where it hurts. That's where you feel the resistance. You tell yourself, maybe I can manage it. Maybe I don't have to be that extreme. Maybe I can just balance everything. But let's be honest. How well has that been working? Because balance sounds good, but for most people, it's just another way to avoid commitment. Now here's where it gets real. You can't keep everything. You can't keep the distractions and build focus. You can't keep the excuses and build discipline. You can't keep your comfort and expect growth. Something has to be sacrificed. And this is where people hesitate, because sacrifice feels like loss. But here's the truth. You're already sacrificing something. Every day, you're sacrificing your potential for comfort. You're sacrificing your future for temporary ease. And you don't even notice it. That's the dangerous part. Now wait till you hear this. The difference between people who move forward and those who stay stuck is simple. One group is willing to be uncomfortable now. The other keeps postponing it. That's it. No secret formula, no hidden trick, just a decision. Now here's a question. Which one are you right now? The one delaying discomfort or the one facing it? Don't answer quickly, because your habits already have. Now here's where things shift. Being ruthless isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but better. Cutting the noise, eliminating the unnecessary, focusing only on what actually matters. And that sounds simple, but it's not easy, because your mind is addicted to distraction. It craves easy dopamine, quick rewards, instant comfort. So when you try to focus, it fights back. It tells you, check your phone, take a break, this can wait. And it feels real, but it's not truth. It's habit. Now here's the part nobody talks about. You don't need more time. You need more control over your attention. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. And right now, your attention is scattered, pulled in different directions, and that's why you feel stuck. Not because you're incapable, but because you're divided. Now this next part changes everything. Ruthless people don't have more discipline. They have fewer distractions. They've removed the things that make failure easy. They've made focus the default. So instead of constantly fighting themselves, they've simplified their environment. And that's powerful. Because willpower is limited. But systems? Systems make things automatic. Now let me ask you something. What in your environment right now is making your life harder? Is it your phone? Your routine? The people around you? Think about it. Because if you don't change your environment, you'll keep repeating the same patterns. Now here's where it gets deeper. Most people try to fix their life without changing their identity. They still see themselves the same way. I'm someone who struggles with discipline. I'm someone who gets distracted easily. And as long as you believe that, you'll keep proving it. So the real shift is this. You stop asking, what should I do? And you start asking, who do I need to become? Because once your identity changes, your actions follow. You don't force yourself to focus. You become someone who focuses. You don't try to be disciplined. You become disciplined. And that's different. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. That version of you requires sacrifice. It requires letting go of your current self. And most people aren't ready for that. So they stay where they are. Not because they can't change, but because they won't let go. Now this next part, this is where everything gets tested. Because becoming ruthless
means facing something most people avoid: your own excuses.
And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because excuses don't feel like excuses. They feel like reasons, logical, valid, even smart. I'm tired. I don't have time. I'll start when things calm down. And on the surface, they make sense. But here's the truth. If your life depends on those reasons, you'll stay exactly where you are. Now this is where it hits you. Your excuses aren't protecting you. They're limiting you. They're keeping you safe, but stuck. And most people never question them. They just accept them, repeat them, live inside them. But what if you stopped believing every thought you had? What if you challenged it? That voice that says, "Not today."
What if you answered back, "Why not?" Now, here's the shift. Ruthless people don't eliminate excuses. They ignore them. They hear the same thoughts, the same doubts, the same resistance, but they don't obey them. And that's the difference. Because discipline isn't about having a quiet mind. It's about having control over your actions, even when your mind is loud. Now think about this. How many times have you felt unmotivated and still scrolled for hours? You didn't need motivation for that. You just did it. So the problem isn't motivation. It's direction. Your actions already prove you're capable of consistency. You're just being consistent with the wrong things. Let that sink in, because that realization changes everything. You're not lazy. You're just misaligned. Now here's where things flip. Instead of trying to become motivated, you become intentional. You decide what deserves your time and what doesn't. You stop drifting. You start choosing. And that's powerful. Because once you start choosing, you stop reacting. Now this next part. This is where people either grow or go back. Because being ruthless means making decisions that feel uncomfortable in the moment. It means saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It means doing the work when no one is watching. It means showing up when you don't feel like it. And that's where identity is built, not in the big moments, but in the small, invisible ones. Now here's a question. When no one is watching, who are you? Are you still focused? Still disciplined? Still committed? Or do you slip back into what's easy? Be honest, because that answer is your real standard. Now here's where it gets deeper. Most people wait for external pressure, deadlines, expectations, consequences. That's when they act. But ruthless people, they create internal pressure. They don't wait for consequences. They act before them. Because they understand something most people don't. Every action has a cost. You either pay the price of discipline now or the price of regret later.
And this is where everything finally clicks. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you stop making it harder than it needs to be. You stop arguing with reality. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop pretending you don't know what to do. Because you do know. You've always known. That's the frustrating part, isn't it? It's not confusion. It's avoidance. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Now here's the shift. You stop waiting to feel ready. Because ready is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. They change, they fluctuate, they disappear when you need them most. So instead, you rely on something stronger. Decision. You decide who you are, and then you act like it. Even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring. Because this next part changes everything. Success isn't built on intensity. It's built on consistency. Not the days you feel unstoppable, but the days you feel average, or tired, or distracted. Those are the days that define you, because anyone can show up when it's easy. But who are you when it's not? That's the real question. Now think about this. What if you stopped chasing motivation and started removing friction? Instead of trying to push yourself harder, you make things simpler, clearer, more direct. You reduce decisions, you eliminate distractions, you create structure. And suddenly, you don't have to fight yourself as much. You just follow through. That's the power of being ruthless. It's not chaos, it's clarity. Now here's where it gets real. Being ruthless also means letting go of things that no longer fit who you're becoming. Old habits, old routines, even old versions of yourself. And that can feel uncomfortable because those things are familiar. They feel like you, but they're not who you're becoming. And holding on to them is holding you back. So you let them go, not out of hate, but out of respect for your future. Now here's a question. What version of you are you still protecting that's keeping you stuck? Take a second, because that answer matters. Now this next part, this is where everything stabilizes. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop chasing quick fixes. You accept something simple, but powerful. This takes time. Real change is slow, not dramatic, not instant, not perfect, but steady. And that's enough. Because slow progress is still progress. And consistency over time beats intensity every time. Now here's the final shift. You stop needing proof. You stop needing validation. You stop waiting for results to confirm you're on the right path. Because you already know. You feel it. In your actions, in your focus, in your standards. You trust yourself. And that changes everything. Because when you trust yourself, you don't hesitate as much. You don't overthink every decision. You move with clarity, with intention, with control. And that's rare. Now let's bring it back. Be ruthless or stay stuck forever. It's not just a title, it's a choice. Every single day. You either choose comfort or growth, distraction or focus, excuses or execution. And those choices, they compound. They shape your life, quietly, daily, until one day you either become someone you're proud of or someone you keep making excuses for. So here's the only thing that matters now. What are you going to choose today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because this moment is all you really have, and what you do with it decides everything. If this made you pause for a second, if it felt a little too real, don't ignore that. Sit with it, and then act. Even if it's small, even if it's uncomfortable, because that's how it starts. Not with a perfect plan, but with a decision. And this time, don't negotiate with yourself. Just follow through.